Hi there. In this video, we're going to look at how we can create an end-to-end process for creating a digitally signed PDF entirely within WebViewer. The steps that are involved are creating a DOCX template, populating the template with JSON-based data in order to create a PDF, allowing different users, each with specific access permissions, to annotate or view the document, and finally, we will see how we can add an approval digital signature, which means that we have confidence that the document has not been modified since it's been signed. Now that's a lot of steps, so there's a blog that goes with this video that explains how each part works and how to implement that within your code. You'll find a link to that blog in the comments below this video. To start with though, you can see that I have WebViewer open, and in fact it's showing one of the standard PDFs that are used to illustrate WebViewer functionality. We're not going to use that PDF, I just wanted to start with something that looked familiar. Before we go further, let's look at the top right hand corner of WebViewer. There are some extra buttons here that I've added to illustrate each part of the process. Currently I'm using the classic UI, which means the buttons need to be located at the right hand side of the main toolbar, unless I'm prepared to fork the source code. If I was to switch to the new modular UI, then I could easily configure the UI to allow me to place those buttons wherever I want. However, that's a story for another video. Let's go through each step in turn. We need to create a DOCX based template. We could create that using Word and use that, but for this demo I'm going to create the template entirely within WebViewer. And why not? It contains a browser based DOCX editor that does everything that I need for this demo. Clicking on the first button swaps us from the PDF viewer to the DOCX editor, and it's showing us an empty DOCX file. In the next step, we will use the Apryse SDK document generation mechanism, which is based on substituting keys that are stored between mustache braces with real data from a JSON object. Now the example that I'm using is rather trivial, population data for the USA and Canada, but you could use the same methodology for creating invoices or legal documents. You can see that I've added a title and set its font and colour. Note that the word country is in mustache braces. This is one of the keys that will be substituted in the next step. I'll add another piece of text to be substituted, and now I'm going to add a table. This uses the loop, end loop syntax, which means that it will create one record for the information for each year in the JSON Data object. And now finally I'm going to add some ordinary text and an image. Okay, I'll save that template so that we can reuse it later. The next step is document generation. The software will search the template for keys and swap those with values from the JSON data. When it's finished, it will create a PDF. If you want a DOCX document instead, then that can easily be done with just a minor code change. Let's see that in action. I have two buttons, one with the Canadian flag, which will generate a document containing Canadian data, and another with an American flag, which will create a document containing data for the USA. So let's click on the Canadian one, and after a few seconds I have a new document. And you can see how our simple template has been used to create an entire table of data. Our text is also still there, as is our image. We can save that PDF, reopen the template, and then press the button with the American flag, and now we have a second PDF created with data from just the USA. Now while I've created each document separately, I could have set up the code to create both with a single button click, or even to create hundreds of different documents, which would be great if you were creating invoices, for example, rather than population data. DocGen is great for creating documents that are primarily text-based, where the data is available as JSON. If, however, you need to create a more complex document, for example one containing charts generated using live data, then check out Fluent, which can also get its data from many different data sources rather than just JSON. Now let's look at what we can do with a generated document. WebViewer is a fully featured PDF editor, but for now we will just look at adding some annotations and see how we can control what specific users can do. I've added 3 buttons for different users. Sally has user permissions, Justin is an admin, and Brian has read-only permissions, and in fact is only allowed to see certain types of annotation. We will see what that means in a minute. Let's work through an imaginary workflow. Sally logs in and adds a comment about the word null. She also highlights the data for the year 2020. The document can then be saved, and next Justin, who's an admin, logs in. He can see Sally's comments, and being an admin, he can even delete them. He can also add his own comments and highlight other data, or reply to Sally. The document can then be saved again. Sally then logs in and can see both her and Justin's comments. She can, if she wants, delete her own annotations, but not those of Justin. When she's happy, the document can then be saved again. Finally, Brian logs in. He only has read-only permissions, and the code has been configured in a way that he cannot see highlight annotations. And there's a lot of flexibility as to what he or any other user can see. It's all built into WebViewer. The final step is to add a digital signature. There are other ways to digitally sign a PDF, either server-side using the Apryse SDK, or via a third-party service such as ZotoSign. But for now, we're just looking at WebViewer, so we will use that. If we look at the thumbnail panel at the moment, then the document is not digitally signed. Let's click on the last button. This adds an approval signature field and signs it using a certificate. I've even set it up to make it clear that it's been signed. If we now look in the thumbnails panel, we can see that the document has been signed and that the signature is valid, and that the document hasn't been modified since it was signed. That's pretty cool. Without leaving WebViewer, we've created a digitally signed PDF from scratch. There's a lot of other functionality available in WebViewer, so check out the other videos. Thanks for watching. See you next time.